I've photographed a few Ferraris in the past while working with models. Both this 512 BB and the black Testarossa were owned by my friends, and they had offered to let me use their cars for my photo shoots. I didn't get into automotive photography until 2007 when I attended the Rennsport reunion event at Daytona, which was all about Porsche. The mix of race cars and street cars, both current and vintage, was very interesting to me, and I really enjoyed taking pictures of the event. I didn't know much about the cars I was photographing back then, but I was hooked and wanted to see and learn more about them. I then set out to photograph the best cars that I could find, and the Ferrari Enzo was at the top of my list. It was Ferrari's latest and greatest at that time, and with less than 450 made and a little over 100 US versions, with some of those shipped to other countries like Mexico, finding an Enzo to photograph here in Florida was going to be one heck of a challenge. My only hope was to either see one out driving around on a city street or meet someone that owned one. Then a fellow photographer suggested attending car shows that catered to exotics, and maybe an Enzo would show up. That's exactly what happened when I checked out the Festival of Speed car show at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando in 2007. A very prominent car collector from New Jersey brought several of his cars to the show, including this car, and I achieved my goal of seeing and photographing a Ferrari Enzo. After that, I went to all the exotic car shows I could and photographed some amazing cars. Since the Enzo was Ferrari's latest, I had nowhere to go but back in time, so I sought out the earlier models in Ferrari's supercar lineup and found and photographed them at car shows and in private collections. I continued to go back in time with the Ferrari lineup and really got interested in the vintage cars with their racing heritage. I loved how the cars evolved over time, and it was fun to try and go back to where it all began. I even saw and photographed this 1947 166 Spider Corsa, which was the first vehicle Enzo Ferrari sold bearing his name, and believed to be the oldest Ferrari in existence. The 2011 Rolex 24 was the 50th anniversary of the iconic endurance race at Daytona, and they tried to gather up as many of the past wing cars as they could for a special exhibition, with the cars taking a few laps around the track before the start of the Rolex 24. It was incredible to see all those historic race cars actually being driven as they were meant to be, and not just sitting in some museum. One particular car caught my eye, and it was this car that was presented as the Ferrari P34 that won the 1967 Rolex 24. As far as vintage race cars go, I thought that car was about as cool as it gets, and I wanted to find out more about what I had just witnessed. That brought me to a very prominent website about all things Ferrari, and it was an invaluable resource for me to learn about the cars I was photographing. It didn't take long for me to find out that the Ferrari 250 GTO was the greatest of all time, which made me want to find and photograph one of those. With only 36 made back in the early 1960s, which all survive today thankfully, and each one being worth millions of dollars, with the last one to change hands selling for a rumored $70 million, I figured the only way I'd see one in person was in a museum or a very special display. Then in 2012, I heard about an event in West Palm Beach called the Cavallino Classic that was exclusively Ferrari, and it went on for several days, one of which included a track day at Palm Beach International Raceway. The chance to see and photograph vintage Ferraris actually being driven interested me much more than seeing them being judged on the lawn, so I made a beeline to the track. I thought this might be my chance to see an actual Ferrari 250 GTO on display, and I proceeded to get my mind blown. To my surprise, there wasn't just one, but a total of 6 Ferrari 250 GTOs, and they raced out on the track. There was a 7th with the number 30 on it, which you'll see in the video, but I was told it was a recreation, so it doesn't really count, but who cares when there were 6 real ones? There were plenty of other cars to drool over as well as they got worked on in the garage and turned laps on the track. This was the best of the best, and I couldn't believe I had the access to see and photograph these cars. I'm really grateful and appreciative that the owners allowed this to be a public event, with a $30 ticket getting you inside the track. It was very low-key with what I'm guessing to be mostly friends and family attending, and a few die-hard Ferrari fans like me that somehow figured out the event was even being held. Walking around the garage area was jaw-dropping, with every tent and hauler revealing a piece of automotive history. I was in extremely rarefied territory and loving every minute of it. The cars went out on the track in predetermined groups or classes, so I switched between walking around the garage and leaning against the track wall to take pictures and record video. Here's a mix of what I got from the track day that was part of the 2012 annual Cavallino Classic. Well, that's most of what I captured at the event. I returned for the 2016 Cavallino Classic track day, and it wasn't as good this time only because a few less 250 GTOs showed up. I guess you could say I was spoiled. I was going to go again the next year, but they were scheduling the event the same weekend as the Rolex 24, so it made it a harder choice for me to go considering the way participant attendance had been going down, and I had already seen the event at its best. The Cavallino Classic changed ownership and made some changes to the event when people thought nothing needed to be changed. And then Palm Beach International Raceway closed its door in 2022 with the property set to become huge warehouses. I always laugh when people tell me there will be a next time when I know things rarely stay the same. You've got to take the opportunity while you still can. It's hard to imagine a day in the future that will match or exceed the day captured in this video with that level of participation. I will forever be thankful for the experience. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this story from one photographer's life.